We're all feeling it. You know, gas prices in Southern California are skyrocketing yet again. The average price of a gallon of regular gas in LA County rose 11 cents on Sunday to $5.79. That is a 55-cent per gallon increase over 23 consecutive days.
For a brief moment, it looks like relief. Prices dip a little. Stations shave a few cents off the sign. Headlines quietly fade away, and many drivers assume the pressure has finally eased. But history shows that in California, those calm moments rarely last. Behind the scenes, the state's fuel system is becoming more fragile by the year. Fewer refineries, tighter regulations, and rising costs are quietly reshaping how gasoline reaches the pump. The result is a system that has almost no margin for error. When everything runs perfectly, prices stabilize. When even one thing goes wrong, prices don't just rise, they jump. What makes this dangerous is that most people never see the warning signs. By the time drivers notice prices climbing again, the conditions that caused the spike were already locked in weeks earlier. Decisions made in boardrooms, regulatory agencies, and infrastructure planning meetings have consequences that only show up later, right when families, workers, and small businesses can least afford them. If you want to understand why California gas prices keep shocking drivers, you have to look beyond the headlines and into how the system itself is breaking down. Why California gas prices keep catching drivers off guard. California gas prices have a habit of surprising people. One week, prices are falling. The next, they surge without warning. This pattern creates confusion, frustration, and anger, especially when national averages remain far lower. The reason for this disconnect is not mystery or manipulation, it is structure. California operates one of the most tightly constrained fuel markets in the country. Unlike most states, it relies on a specialized gasoline blend designed to meet environmental standards. That blend limits where fuel can be produced and how easily it can be replaced when something goes wrong. As long as supply and demand remain perfectly balanced, prices can hold steady. The problem is that California's system no longer has room for imbalance. The shrinking refinery network. At the center of the issue is refinery capacity. Over the past decade, California has steadily lost refineries or seen them scale back operations. Some have shut down entirely, others have converted to alternative fuel production. Many are aging facilities that require constant maintenance just to remain operational. Every refinery that leaves the system increases pressure on the ones that remain. When capacity shrinks, flexibility disappears. If one refinery goes offline unexpectedly, there are fewer backups available to pick up the slack. This is why price spikes can appear sudden. The system does not gradually adjust, it reacts sharply when supply tightens. Why refinery maintenance matters more than you think. Refineries are complex industrial facilities that require routine maintenance. Planned shutdowns are scheduled months in advance, but even planned maintenance reduces available supply. When multiple refineries undergo maintenance at the same time, the margin tightens further. Unexpected outages are even more disruptive. Equipment failures, weather events, or safety concerns can take a facility offline with little notice. When that happens, wholesale prices respond immediately. Consumers feel the effect days later at the pump, often without realizing that the cause was set in motion long before. The investment problem. Refineries are not cheap to upgrade or replace. Major investments can cost billions of dollars and take years to complete. For companies operating in California, the long-term outlook matters. State policy signals a gradual transition away from fossil fuels. While that goal may be intentional, it creates uncertainty for companies deciding whether to invest in infrastructure that may face declining demand or increasing regulation in the future. From a business perspective, committing massive capital to facilities with an uncertain lifespan is risky. As a result, companies delay upgrades, reduce spending, or exit entirely. This leads to a paradox. Demand remains high in the short term, while supply investment slows. Demand has not disappeared. Despite aggressive policy goals, Californians still drive, commuters still rely on cars, trucks still deliver food, construction materials, and consumer goods. Public transportation and electric vehicle adoption are growing, but they have not eliminated fuel demand. This gap between policy ambition and real-world usage keeps pressure on the fuel system. When supply contracts faster than demand, prices rise. The misunderstanding around corporate pricing. Public debate often frames high gas prices as the result of corporate decisions made behind closed doors. While companies do set prices, those prices respond to market conditions. In a tight market, prices rise regardless of intent. In California, scarcity is structural. Limited refining capacity, specialized fuel requirements, and geographic isolation combine to create a market that is easily stressed. When supply is abundant, competition keeps prices in check. When supply is scarce, prices escalate quickly. Taxes and fees create a permanent price floor. California's fuel prices are also elevated by taxes and fees layered onto every gallon. These charges fund infrastructure, environmental initiatives, and general state programs. They are fixed costs that do not decrease when wholesale prices fall. This creates a price floor. Even during periods of relief, California prices remain higher than those in states with lower tax burdens. When wholesale prices rise again, taxes stack on top, magnifying the increase. The result is not just higher prices, but more dramatic swings. Why imports are not a reliable solution? When local supply tightens, importing gasoline seems like an obvious fix. In reality, imports are slow, expensive, and limited by fuel specifications. California's blend requirements mean that not all imported gasoline can be used. Shipping fuel across oceans or borders takes time. By the time imported fuel arrives, the price spike has often already occurred. Imports can soften prolonged shortages, but they are rarely fast enough to prevent initial surges. The timing problem drivers never see. Gas prices reflect decisions made weeks or months earlier. Maintenance schedules, regulatory approvals, investment choices, and logistical planning all occur long before consumers see the impact. This delay creates the illusion that prices change randomly. In reality, the system is reacting exactly as designed or constrained. By the time drivers notice a spike, the factors causing it are already baked in. Political responses focus on symptoms. Public responses often emphasize investigations, hearings, or public statements. While these actions may satisfy political pressure, they do little to change the underlying mechanics of the fuel market. Long-term solutions require difficult choices, increasing supply flexibility, accelerating demand reduction, or restructuring the market entirely. Each option carries costs and trade-offs that are politically uncomfortable. As a result, short-term responses dominate while structural issues persist. The broader economic consequences. High gas prices affect more than drivers. Transportation costs ripple through the economy, raising prices for goods and services. Small businesses face higher delivery costs. Households allocate more income to fuel, leaving less for other expenses. Over time, this contributes to a higher cost of living and economic strain, particularly for those with limited alternatives to driving. Why volatility is likely to continue? Unless the structure of California's fuel system changes, volatility will remain. Aging infrastructure, constrained supply, steady demand, and fixed taxes create conditions where price stability is difficult to maintain. Brief drops may occur, but they should not be mistaken for resolution. Without new flexibility, the next disruption will produce familiar results. What drivers should realistically expect? Drivers should expect continued swings rather than sustained relief. Prices may fall temporarily, but the system remains vulnerable. Understanding this helps set realistic expectations and explains why frustration returns so quickly. California's gas prices are not driven by a single villain or event. They are the predictable outcome of infrastructure limits, policy direction, and economic incentives interacting in a constrained market. Until those fundamentals change, the cycle of relief and spikes will continue quietly setting up the next surge, long before it appears on the sign at the station.